Greetings, everyone, and welcome. I'm Reverend Jerry Troyer, the administrator for Anton, the affiliated New Thought Network, and I'd like to welcome you to our June Speaker Series conversation with Reverend Michael Gott. Just a couple of reminders before we get started. You will have the opportunity to meet Reverend Michael in person at our annual conference and retreat, October 1st through the 4th at Unity Village. If you have not yet registered, today is a great day to do that. www.newthought.org is our website, and there's a link on the homepage. Just click on that link and go and register. And we look forward to seeing you there. I am going to, just one moment here. There we go. So I have muted everyone. As we get toward the end of the call, we will open it to questions, and I will unmute everyone and give you the opportunity to make your comments and ask your questions. But for now, join me for just a moment in the light, if you would, as I center us and prepare us for this wonderful time together. So nice deep breath if you wish. As we exhale, we release thoughts of what happened earlier today, what's going to happen later today or tomorrow, so we can just be fully present in this moment. And as we do, we allow ourselves to be reminded that there's only one power, presence, mind, life, and intelligence, and that is God. All the love, all the peace, all the joy, all the passion, all the wonder, all the possibility of the universe is right here in this moment, in us, as us, expressing through us. We give thanks for the opportunity to go apart for a little while, to be fully present for the next hour or so, to be open at the top, as Ernest Holmes said. So I offer great gratitude for this opportunity today. I wrap our time together in gratitude, love, and light, and together we say, and so it is. So, it is my great pleasure to first of all introduce our beloved Reverend Dr. Carol Lawson. She is the corporate secretary for Anton. She is the founding minister for the Center for Conscious Living in Morristown, New Jersey, and she is just a hot ticket. So, and that pretty much covers it. So Reverend Dr. Carol, welcome and greetings.
Thank you, Jerry. I feel like moving to California, if that's what you say about people. That's wonderful.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So just welcome, everybody. I'm delighted that you're joining us and joining the Reverend Dr. Michael Gott. I'll give you a brief biography, and then we'll get to meet him at an even deeper level. He's the senior minister of one of the world's largest Unity churches in Houston, Texas. This biography that I found is an engaging speaker and a multi-talented musician. Now, for over 20 years, he's been doing this as a leader in the New Thought movement. He's currently focused as spiritual leader of Unity of Houston, but he's also traveling all over North America and Europe, singing, speaking at conferences and spiritual centers. He's going to be at our Anton conference, and we'll talk more about that through the hour as well. I know he's on the Big Sky Retreat, and I think you're doing the music there, aren't you, Michael, as well?
I am, yes.
So wonderful things happening. I find it very interesting. He's been ordained by both Unity Worldwide Ministries and the Centers for Spiritual Living. So there's a beautiful coming together of New Thought communities there. And the Centers for Spiritual Living also recognized him with an honorary doctorate for his contributions to contemporary spiritual music. He joined the ministerial team at Unity of Houston in 2011 and then was installed as senior minister in September of 2017. So he's going to talk a little bit about those last 2 years of experience there as well, I'm sure. In recent years, he's also shared the stage with internationally known leaders like Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson. His compassionate ability to create spiritual community and his background in various music styles, and listen to this: gospel, pop, opera, musical theater, classical piano, and jazz, offers exciting, engaging, heartfelt messages and music. And I'm going to end with this, which I found, which says he's recorded and released 10 albums. This seemed kind of older, Michael, so maybe it's more by now. And he's collaborated on stage productions, Split Ends, 5 O'Clock Call, and the one we should mention today, All Stressed Up with Nowhere to Go. So he'll probably tell you about that too.
Oh, no.
Welcome, Reverend Michael Gott.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, everyone, for the invitation. I'm delighted to be here. I know I did a call maybe a year and a half ago, and I don't want to repeat myself. And when we were talking about what we might discuss today, I know that there are certain themes that are really present in my ministry. And so I think there's some relationship to what I shared before, which is sort of the changing nature of spiritual community. And the piece I can talk about my musical All Stressed Up with Nowhere to Go, but I'm living it right now because we're moving. My partner John and I are
I thought perhaps you would.
And, somebody told me that moving is right up there with divorce, major illness, loss of a loved one in terms of life stressors. And John and I, my partner John Moore, who is also the chair of the board of the Big Sky Retreat and will be with me at the Anson Conference in October. And he and I will be creating the opening ceremony for you guys together. And he's an amazing ceremonialist and a deep heart, family constellation facilitator and Course in Miracles teacher, wonderful person. But neither of us has a strength for details. And moving is all details. So we're both kind of just doing our best right now. What I really wanted to talk about today was what I see emerging in my own life and in my own community, and just when I talk to other leaders in our movement, and really beyond our movement in spiritual community in general, is that there's a need for connection and belonging. I think that in the early days of New Thought, going back to the Fillmores, Emily Cady, and Ernest Holmes, the founders of Divine Science, all of it, it was so much focused on the individual transformative journey. That's really what it was about, the teaching. And the teaching is still the very center of what we're doing. Don't mistake me. That's why we are in New Thought communities. But up until the 1980s and 90s, we had exclusive distributorship of these teachings in our centers. And the only place you could really find this material was to come to a New Thought church, to attend a New Thought lecture, to purchase the books in a New Thought church bookstore. That's really, we had kind of a corner on the market. And then everything kind of changed, AO after Oprah, and also, AA after Amazon. That these teachings are so, at least the principles that underlie our teachings, I don't think we don't own them. But we have codified them, we've synthesized them and kind of in a beautiful, coherent, cogent way. But the principles are really out there in a lot of different formats right now. And so what we're experiencing at Unity of Houston, which is what most churches experience today, is that fewer people attend church and they attend less often. Our church is a little more than a third of our Sunday attendance, what it used to be at its peak in the early 90s. And that's pretty common. I think a lot of communities are experiencing that. There are some that are growing, and that's fabulous. And we're starting to see a little bit of growth here too. So it's really, I guess the point of what I would like to share and discuss with you guys today is, if we no longer have the only availability for these teachings, why do we exist? And there are many answers to that question, I'm sure, but what keeps coming forward for me is it's to explore these transformative teachings within the context of the beloved community, and to do it in relationship. And what I say a lot, if you have a chance to tune into what we're doing here on Sunday mornings on Facebook or YouTube, you'll hear me say it a lot, that I believe that we are the most connected and the most isolated generation in human history. That here we are seeing each other's faces through our little screens, and we're all over the country and maybe even outside the US too, I don't know. And if something happens across the globe, we know about it instantly. It's on our phone. It comes to us. So, we're instantly connected. And yet what people are reporting is that they have less human contact, less physical touch than ever before in history. People spend so much time alone with those screens. And so the cry of the heart that I just continue to hear is people are lonely. And that includes people who have been in this teaching for 40 plus years and people who are brand new. They're looking for connection. I'm a big fan of our fellow Houstonian, Dr. Brene Brown from the University of Houston. And, she says a lot, we're hardwired for connection. And John and I had the opportunity, one of our members here is a big supporter of the Carl Jung's Center for Transpersonal Psychology here in Houston. And they had a big fundraiser at elegant country club setting and with the surf and turf that they always do at those kind of things. And we got to
couldn't help yourself.
Right. And we got to sit 10 feet away from Brene Brown. She was the keynote. And she talked a lot about her new book, which is, I have read it, but I haven't. We want to work with it with our leadership here. It's Dare to Lead. But she talks about she asked the room, there were maybe 200 or 300 people in the room, maybe more. What do you think is the greatest obstacle to courageous leadership? And several people said fear. And she nodded and she said, I thought so too, but no. She said, the obstacle to courageous leadership is armor. And it's also the obstacle to connection. I think that we have got to lay down our armor and we have to be real with each other and with our communities. And it's kind of a scary thing, and yet it is what I find is most resonant with our community members is when they can feel connected to what I'm saying, to the way I'm sharing my personal experience of practicing these principles in my life, of the struggles, and when they have the ability to share their journey and their struggle and their triumph. They're practicing, and I love that we practice the principles. It's we're not perfecting them yet. And that's when they really feel most connected, and that's when they plug into the community. And I know I shared this tidbit the last time I was on this call, is that if we change the focus from attendance to engagement, what the studies are showing is that the most engaged people attend the most. And that's what we're finding, that the people who are getting most plugged in, and particularly in our new small group ministry, less than a year old, those are the people who are showing up for Sunday and Wednesday services. Those are the people who are showing up to volunteer. Those are the people who are coming on retreats because they are being seen, heard, their journeys are being witnessed, they are getting the support they need. So I guess I'm kind of done sort of talking. I'd love to have a Q&A here, some conversation, but I just go back to my earliest experience of church in Avant, Oklahoma, this town of 400 people where I grew up. And we attended the Methodist church there. On a good Sunday, there might be 20 people in the Sunday service. And yet it was true community, that when someone died, the casseroles arrived automatically. When the church needed a new roof, we were on the roof replacing it. There was no cleaning service. It was the people in the church that cleaned it every week. There was such ownership. Now, there were things that I had to heal from my experience growing up in that. But I believe I've retained some of the lessons of belonging and community from those early days. And I had it too, my first New Thought church in Dallas, CSL Dallas. I was there for 17 years. My experiences that stay with me the most are the teachings, for sure. Being in the classroom with Dr. Petra, she's an incredible teacher. Learning these principles, practicing them, but also those times of, crying together, laughing together, working together as a community. So that's my intro. Now, what are we going to talk about?
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Michael. Thank you. Let me just mention to everyone that there is a chat room, a button for Jan, who likes some more direction here at the bottom. It says chat. If you hit on it, there's a place where you can ask questions and we'd be delighted to hear from you. Martha Creek and Jerry have both put up other places to see about Michael. So there's a YouTube and another website and things like that. So I think that that's lovely as well. I'm interested briefly, but it looks like your early experiences then really have kind of come into what's important to you now, even though that was stuff to heal.
Sure, I released a lot of the theology, if not all, but the that community and connection that's always been important to me. And here in a large church, I noticed it the first day I arrived here as a staff minister, was that we were largely spectator organization. People would come on a Sunday and they would leave. A few people had really dug in deeper and connected, but for most of the people who were attending, they were just attending. They were not, and that's something I've been hoping to create better entry points for belonging and connection.
Yeah, so there's a question here from Andrea Brown. Would love to hear more about the small group ministry and how's that working. I think that's probably a lot of the ministers on the call would be interested as well in what you or what each other, that the whole point of your point is of how important connection is. So other people.
Well, I'm happy to share about that, and I don't want to do a commercial for the particular methodology that we're in the path that we're using, but it's fantastic. It really is. It's Mindy Audlin's Spirit Groups. Mindy is a spiritual leader. She's not actually a minister. She's a licensed teacher in Unity and has led 2 different communities, and this is her creation. It is her ministry. I think there are 30 communities, mostly Unity, but a few CSL. I don't know if there are any Anson communities that are currently using her work. The thing that we like about it is that everything has already been researched, created, and it's pretty much turnkey. It's just presented. And the first time we launched it last fall, we altered it, modified it to what we thought our needs were, and we realized that every alteration and modification we made was a mistake. And so now we use it exactly as she has presented it. And we have, we're a large church. Our Sunday attendance is on a good Sunday, maybe 900. Summer, we'll probably still get 600-700 on a Sunday. And in the fall, we had hoped to have 15 groups. We ended up with about 25. And then in the spring launch, the thing I like about Mindy's group, there's a couple things I like. It's very low threshold for entry. You can join one if you're timing it right. You can join one your first day in the community. There's no qualifications to join a spirit group. It's open to everyone. I like the fact that they're not perpetual. They're discrete time periods. They're launched 3 times a year. It's about a 10-week process. There's 6 weeks of curriculum. There's a 0 week, they call it, to start, set it up. And that's just kind of invite the curious and everyone. And then people commit for 6 weeks of meeting in homes for curriculum. And then there's also a celebration experience and a service project. It's really well thought out, well executed. The curriculum, she has some of the best minds in New Thought have created the video curriculum, and it's pretty wonderful. So it's been exceeding our goals for participants, and also I would say just the anecdotal feedback we're getting from people is that people are finding that sense of connection and belonging that they were hoping for.
Michael, we have a question. Could you say again, maybe spell her name so that
yes. Well, I believe that it's spiritgroups.org, I believe. If not, that's try.com. I'm not sure which it is. But her name is Mindy, but it's spelled Mendhi, Audlin, Audlin. And she is out of Evergreen, Colorado.
All right. And the ever-present, very gifted, and quite knowledgeable Martha Creek has put up a...
Yeah, I know Martha knows Mindy.
a link. Thank you. Thank you, Martha. And Jerry has too. So good. Thank you very much.
There are some small communities that are doing it quite well too. I just want to say that it's not just a big church thing, that there are a lot of communities who have 40 or 50 people in the Sunday attendance, and they have 2 or 3 groups, and they're really thriving. Yeah. And some even more. Yeah.
Would you like to talk a little bit more about it in terms of how the group is organized, or are there different subjects? Or
Yeah, so she has a curriculum library that she has created. I created one of those curricula last fall I did a study of Eric Butterworth's Discover the Power Within You. So it's a 7-part series, but it's like an 11-minute talk, and then there are discussion questions, and the whole agenda for the meetings, it's a 90 minute to 2 hour meeting, depending on how much time people want for discussion and connection. But the agenda is very straightforward. It's all laid out. There's spiritual practice, there's check-in, there's discussion questions generated from the curriculum. It's a really just a lovely format that she has created. There's also room to flex it and modify it some as you need. It's all led by I guess they don't have to be certified or licensed credentialed
right, that was
people.
going to be my question coming up.
No, the training it's one day, not even a whole day. It's like a 2-hour training to get somebody started, and they're not called leaders; they're called hosts. And it's been interesting too, because we've had some members of our community who were like, they want to teach, and so they've been disappointed that that's not actually what the group leaders do. They facilitate. And then some people who are like, they feel like they don't feel qualified to lead a group, and they actually are. It's really easy. Now the great thing is, Mindy has described it as you get just enough information to get them started, and then as problems and challenges arise, the training is already there to support that too. And then there is another level of training where you do become a spirit group's team leader, and that's already embedded in there. And then we also have, because we are larger, we needed a staff person to sort of administrate the program, and it's one of our full-time staff members, and she is the program leader, but it's not the full-time job. I mean, Mindy estimates it's about a 10-hour-a-week job, but I think it's closer to 15 or 20 for us because of the size that we are. But it's really great. There are weekly check-ins with all the hosts. On Sunday after service, our program leader, Stacy, meets with them for 20 minutes, just asks questions, gives support. I don't know. What else do we want to know? It's great.
I don't know. Well, some of the questions you've answered, would this work in a smaller church community? You said you had several, of several that.
It does. And what I've been hearing, I know I was just with Mindy at Unity Conference last week and got to see Martha Creek there. There were probably like 6 or 7 of Spirit Group's communities who were present in her workshop, and people were sharing. I think some have it kind of sort of front and center of what they're offering as a community. Some of you may know Dr. Gary Simmons, who is the author of The Eye of the Storm. He teaches classes in CSL. He's a great leader, and he's in Spokane, Washington, with his wife Jane, and they are consciously shifting their culture from a minister-centric community to a mission-centric community, and they're using spirit groups to do that. They have a 2-level membership program, which I'm very interested in. And there are no, how did he say it? There's no like path of requirement to become a member, but there are qualifications, and those are met in spirit groups. He requires that the qualifications, they have a deepened commitment to their spiritual practice, which they do in spirit groups. There's a deepened commitment to sacred service, which they do in spirit groups. So we don't foresee that this will take care of all the belonging connection needs in our church here. But the way I'm kind of holding it is that this is the engine. And as we're moving forward, that as much as we can focus into the spirit group ministry, it seems to really work.
That's interesting. I want to leave space if there are somebody else or another community that's using a different model or something for the small groups, why, please feel free to, raise your hand and wave, or if we miss that, write in the chat. We'd be happy to entertain anything, but I'm excited about what you're sharing. I think that's wonderful, Michael. And I'm interested, you say that the qualifications for service are done through the group. So does the whole group then do something, or how does that work?
Yeah, at the end of near the end of the 6 or 8 weeks that they're together as a group. Oh, and by the way, you don't have to disband the groups. Some of them are continuing to meet even after the period is over, just because they love
couldn't
it.
Help themselves. They already love all those people now, and they want to.
And then when we have a new launch, those groups are staying together for the most part. So it is a requirement that the group does a service project together. And it's recommended that it's not at the church. And so they're invited to be really creative about it. And I think Mindy has sort of backed off that not at the church thing a little bit, because
you have lots of things that could be done, right?
I would say ours are probably about half and half. I would say about half of our groups are doing projects. We have a wonderful volunteer landscape team, and groups have been stepping into doing that. We're repainting some of our Sunday school classrooms for the children. Some groups are just taking a classroom and painting it, just different projects like that. Some are volunteering. There's a homeless day center near us that we've done some work for. It just does laundry, provides a space for people to take showers, provide hot meals, and they've sent groups over there to volunteer. The Houston Food Bank, different things like that.
Jerry is very involved in a group working with the homeless in San Diego, so he's listening to that part, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that. I think it's might be quite wonderful. We rent space on our Sundays, but I could see we could come up with a few things that could be helpful around the office. But then moving out into the larger community, then not only are you being visible, but it's like you're caring about the world. And what you're learning in the classes or on Sunday is not just done on Sunday.
Yeah. One of the critiques of the New Thought movement is that we don't have an adequate response to suffering in the world. We can there are a lot of opinions around that. I don't want to get into the controversy over it, but I do believe that we can do a better job of being the love of God with shoes and socks on in the world, and our community is really stepping into that. I think it was a grassroots thing that happened here right about the time I got here. There was a group of some of our most committed volunteers, long-term members, who just sort of had a social activism bent, I guess, and felt that we weren't doing enough, that all of our volunteering was focused inward to our community. And so they did it very well. They did a church-wide survey to see what areas would we be interested in serving in the larger community. And really, this was 7-8 years ago, and we focused on the results of the survey were 3, where we're going to work on homelessness, hunger, and childhood advocacy. And that we call it unity in the community, and it is the way that we volunteer out in the city of Houston. And it does a couple of things. I mean, it really does get us outside the church walls, and we get to share the good of what we have to offer, and we get to demonstrate our teaching through our actions of being of service to one another, demonstrating oneness that way. And it's good PR. I mean, there's no doubt about it that we are being recognized as a community that cares, and that people have started attending because of that. A few, yeah.
Michael, is there an interfaith organization in Houston?
Yeah, very large and active, Interfaith Ministries of Houston. They kind of have a two-pronged focus here. They facilitate Meals on Wheels in the Houston area, which is huge operation that they do. And also the companion to that is Anna Meals. I don't know if you have that in San Diego, but it's
oh, wow.
what happened was they found out here in Houston, and I don't know if it originated here or other places, but some of the elderly, they were giving their hot meal to their dogs and cats, and they were still not getting the benefit of it. So it's a companion program to Meals on Wheels, where they deliver free dog and cat food to people who have animals. And we also have an animal kinship ministry here at our church, and they do quarterly pet food drives, and then we take that to and that's all done by Interfaith Ministries. And then the other focus of Interfaith Ministries is just creating greater dialogue between all of the faith communities in Houston. It's very very well attended, very well supported. We have I'm just going to brag for a little bit about my adopted city. Houston is the most diverse city in America. There are more countries of origin, more ethnicities, more languages spoken, more religions practiced here than any other city in America.
Oh, wow.
We have a huge both Eastern and Central Asian population. So we have the second largest Vietnamese population outside of Vietnam. We have huge Indian, Pakistani, Sri Lankan communities here. And the Indian community in particular are very active in interfaith, and we do a lot of joint events with the Mahatma Gandhi Library is a organization, and they don't have their own building yet. They're in the process of creating a museum and a library, but they use our facilities for a lot of their events, and we love it. We love it.
Oh, that's awesome! Wow.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you mentioned that as well. There is a comment here from Nancy, who's from the Big Bear Center for Spiritual Enrichment in Big Bear, and she says, for those of you that aren't on the chat, she says, our small center is using a similar model taught to us by, here's a name you might know, Michael Reverend Allie Benjamin, who is my co-spiritual leader. So Reverend Allie, for those of you that don't know, is president of the Anton Affiliated New Thought Network and on the Big Sky Retreat Board, and probably good friends with Michael.
A good friend of mine, and John, my partner, just adores Allie Benjamin. Yeah, but we both do. I love her and Michael. Yeah, and I know that Allie has done some study and mentoring with my friend Mark Anthony Lord, and he also has a model for small group ministry. I'm not sure if that's what she's using or not, but it's a lot of similar things.
So we'll mention it, and it feels so good. I loved it. I was so struck by your getting ministerial degrees in two different, both New Thought, but different traditions, and certainly Anton open and accepting everybody from whatever group you've maybe had your training with, but to be here. I love that there are other systems as well, but it's beautiful. I did not know about it. I'm happy to learn. I saw Jerry taking notes and doing things, and it feels very good. It's a way to integrate that. We have a contingent of people that are very involved in social action, and it would be lovely to have that framework to be able to offer as well, so that others could to join up or be in a group and get very connected. I see kind of a tapestry of this group that goes out to lunch after service, or this group that does this, or the people that do the writing at the stables, or the people that at different things. And it would be lovely to have all of those smaller groups connected through that they're part of a group at the center.
Yeah, absolutely.
At our center, or whatever center it is. All right.
Well, like I said, it feels to me, if there's one thing that I could share that feels most alive and most true right now in my ministry, it is that this is what people are really seeking, is connection. And I like I said, it has to be grounded in our teaching, and that has to be the center of what we're offering. But it is that sense of being seen, heard, witnessed, and supported that just feels like it's so alive. I will just mention one other thing that's happening here that's really alive in our community. It started, I guess, was it 2 summers ago, maybe 3 summers ago, with the Ferguson, Missouri, the riots and the Black Lives Matter really becoming front and foremost. And we also, I'm very grateful that we have a very diverse community in our church. We're probably 20 to 30% African American, guessing 15% LGBTQ. Large number of, we do have a Spanish language ministry, large number of Asian Americans, well, small number, but they're here. And we really wanted to, I just put a call out at that time. I wasn't even a senior minister yet, but I was so saddened and troubled by the racial divide in our nation. And I wanted to create a space where we could talk about it and heal, at least. I mean, if our name, Unity, is in a place where we can do this healing, I don't know where we could. And we created an initiative. My buddy, Cindy Wigglesworth, who is the author of SQ21, the 21 Skills of Spiritual Intelligence. She's amazing, member of my community here, and dear friend. She and I sort of began it. We brought in Tracy Brown, who is the community leader for Centers for Spiritual Living right now, practitioner at CSL Dallas, and she's also a trainer on diversity and deep teacher of that. We're calling it Healing the Heart of America, and we've done mostly through education, although it's really shifting. We've done a bunch of different things. But what's really emerging there is taking a good look at racism, institutional racism. How can we heal the racial divide, and doing it in our own house first, and creating. And it's taken really almost 3 years, where we feel like we now have a core of about 30 to 50 people who are doing deep work around it and are having real conversations about their experiences. And I kind of think it's like David Hawkins, would talk about how many, the coherent thought is more powerful than the incoherent thought. And even though it's a small number, even for our community that's doing this work, I just feel the ripples of healing that's bringing about. So and since I'm becoming senior minister, I'm really not as directly involved in that, but I hear about it and I get reports on what's going on. I'm so grateful that is coming. It's kind of shown, and a lot of people too. That's where they're getting their sense of connection and belonging, not in the small group ministry, but in these small groups doing this deep work on healing.
That was going to be my question. Is this part of the small group ministry? And you're saying no,
it's
but
not.
It sounds a little like. Well, how is it different? Oh, thank you.
We're not using the format, the Spirit Group's format. This is. We have borrowed some other formats. We've done the living room conversations. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with that, but it's a wonderful organization that has created a dialogue tool. And then we now have 3 co-chairs. It's Cindy Wigglesworth, my senior associate minister, Reverend Karen Tudor, and then Dr. Jean Ladding, who she's a semi-retired professor in the social work department at the University of Houston. She was one of Brene Brown's teachers and a colleague of Brene's for many years. The 3 of them are very gifted in facilitation in their own right, so they've created some of their own formats and platforms to do some of the work. So they're not using the same format as Spirit Groups.
All right. Yes, 2 of the people at our community work a lot with the Pachamama Alliance, I know, and things. June's normally on these calls. I don't see her today, but and they have some kind of a facilitation thing that they do as well, that she's just going to be offering in August here. So we're just beginning. So I'm thrilled to hear all about this, and I suspect others on the call are as well.
Looks like we have a question from Susan. I'm going to unmute you, Susan.
Hello.
Hi, Susan.
Hi. My question is, how did the groups pick each other to be in, and how many people are usually in a group?
Great question. 8 is sort of the ideal size, 6 to 8, but Mindy says 3 is just fine. If you get more than 12, the discussion becomes a little unwieldy. There are some groups. I think the largest one we had was about 15, and we did get some feedback it was a little too large. Sorry about that. I had a call trying to come through. So it does. They had to break into smaller groups to do the discussion for everyone to get to share. So I think 6 to 8 is really a good size. The way that the groups we do a sign up Sunday at the launch, the beginning of the launch. We have 2 weeks on Sundays where they can sign up, and we have a table with a map showing where in the city the groups are. So far, because we're new at this, we've had all of our groups using the same curriculum on the same topic. And in the fall, we're going to do that again. But our thought is that the fall launch will always be where the entire church is focusing on the same topic. And we're also doing a Sunday series focused on that. But the other weeks, the other launches of the small groups ministry will be different topics. And so when people are looking for a small group, they can choose by geographic location, or they can choose by maybe they know the leader or a friend has invited them to a group, or they can just see which topic interests them the most.
And how often do they meet?
It's weekly for 6. It's 6 weeks of curriculum. There's a 0 week. There's a celebration. There's a service project. So it's really about 9 weeks total,
Okay.
9 or 10.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Susan. Good question.
Mhm.
Others?
And again, I don't mean to just have a commercial for spirit groups, but just, really, it's an honest customer testimonial. When we bought it, we like it.
Michael, you're here to share what's working for you. So
Yeah.
this is exactly what we want. It's perfectly fine. And you get to have your testimonials. I had asked John actually to come at the end of the conversation so the two of them could talk about, or at least maybe not talk too much, but a little bit about this special ceremony that they're preparing for our Anton conference. But because of this move, he's not able to come. But
He's not.
Lots of wonderful things about you, and I'm sure you do that. You already have done the same about him. So your testimonials are fine. It's perfect. Let me ask, you said that in the fall, is it 3 times a year you launch?
Mm-hmm.
And
Beginning of the year, after Easter, and in the fall.
And that the fall is everybody does the same things. Is the program have other focuses so that in the spring when you launch and have a wider variety of groups, is that already in the program, or is it something that comes based on something you've developed?
Yes, it's the curriculum. I don't know how many different curricula there are available with the program, and it's a subscription-based service. You pay more the first year when she trains all of your staff and volunteers. So there's more training intensive in that first year, and then it's just an annual subscription service. And with that subscription, you get access to her library of curricula, and each individual groups can choose. As I said, we've used the same curricula for all of our groups so far. We've had 3 launches, and for the 4th launch, we're all going to do one together. But after that, we do foresee that we will ask the host to choose which curriculum they would rather do.
And does that seem like a good idea? You said you had some deviation at the beginning, and each time found yourself coming back. So
And that was not a problem of curriculum. That was logistics and and I mean, one of the things was we had already decided to do a small group component for a fall Sunday series that we were doing on, and we'd already decided it was a 7-week series. We'd already done all the mapping of that in our calendar. And so we did 7 weeks instead of 6, which is what she recommends. And it's just 1 week too long for the way this works. And then we had also we wanted it to work so much. We said, well, we're going to allow groups to meet on campus because we're a large metropolitan area. Some people drive an hour from different directions to get here. And it ended up being, we had over half of the groups in the first launch were meeting in rooms on our campus, and it was overtaxing of our facilities crew, and our staff made a lot more work for our staff. And what Mindy had told us was that, and this is research that shows this too, that when people have a second geographical location associated with a relationship, it automatically triggers something in the brain that for greater intimacy and trust. And so putting them in the homes is important. And we have an exception for one of our seniors groups. They want to meet on campus, and we've made that exception. But other than that, now we're having them all meeting in homes, and that is really working.
Yeah, that feels lovely because you have, especially, it's not the facilitator, it's the host.
Yeah.
It's my house, or maybe it's somebody else's house. It's home, but it's comfy, cozy, intimate. You'd maybe be more willing to share too. And I can see why the number of people is important and keeping that down. So that thing you talked about at the beginning, to be seen, to be heard, be so very, very important. Somebody here, Deb Brown, has a question. Jerry, can you mute her and we'll...
I'm sorry. Actually, the question I think was kind of answered. First
Isn't that
of all,
the wonderful thing?
Yeah. I want to thank Reverend Michael. I'm going to be seeing you at the conference in October. I'm actually one of Emerson graduates from Emerson Theological
Congratulations,
Institute.
Deb. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. I look forward to meeting everyone. And actually, my question, I think, was going to be these spirit groups. I had the pleasure of having Gary Simmons as one of my SEE instructors through Unity. And do they ever offer these spirit groups in a Zoom format like this? For those of us, I attend Unity of Gulfport, Mississippi, and so I'm kind of a good distance from everybody. And I was wondering if any of the groups or the classes are offered in a online presence.
They're not, and I'm not. I believe that there is some rationale for not doing spirit groups as in an online format, but I can't speak to it. And so I know that we're currently not offering anything like that. It's kind of on my radar to do some sort of. I know my former minister and good friend Dr. Peter Weldis in Dallas, what they're now doing at CSL there is they're allowing people to join their classes via Zoom. So they have on-site classes, but then some people are Zooming in from other, and so they share people. But I don't know of anyone who's doing small groups on online format.
We are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb, and we will look forward to all meeting you in October at the Anton Conference. That's wonderful. I could see where it's problematic trying to find how close, how intimate, how authentic, maybe, and open can we be in an electronic format, and we're working on that and trying to allow that. We do Zoom for our classes. We have a practitioner and now minister who moved to Germany. So we have her Zooming in at 2 a.m. and somebody else from Spain, and then a few people that have moved around in the States. And it's kind of fun to be able to have that. The sense of community means something different as they're Zooming in from South Carolina or Germany.
Well, don't you find it's just so much better now that we can see faces?
Yes.
I think the phone calls were a little bit more disembodied and less personal, but and I'll just kind of a personal sharing. I'd done long distance relationship before all this technology, and John and I were long distance for the first 20 months that we dated, and having FaceTime just made such a difference that at the end of every day we could just see each other's faces, because you can read all of the minutia of the the facial expressions, and it's. So I think that you're onto something, Deb. I just keep holding the space. I think something will definitely be emerging there, so you can get that connection. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to take Gary's class in the spirit groups, and then I'll start an online presence of some sort.
Perfect.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Others? Want to be sure that we catch everybody. Jerry caught somebody waving their hand. Martha, you travel around a lot. If you're still with us, maybe you have some wisdom to share.
Well, I don't know if you want to open that up or not.
Okay, well, I could just see me phrase it differently. But
You'll have to add me to your fancy speaker series to get mine. I just am so grateful for this, and Michael, for you to come on today, honey, and share, and like you're a model, Michael, of leadership. Of somebody that stayed the course, and this business we're in, people don't even make it even 5 years usually in a ministry. So to have somebody with us that's been not only serving, but serving extraordinarily and so wholeheartedly, and with such a bandwidth that you have in leading, speaking, teaching, and singing, and doing this music and vocal. So I was thinking about what would absolutely move this group, if they haven't already registered for this Anton conference, was for you to sing us a little song, sing us a little line of a song. Because if they're not already committed to run out there to Unity Village October 1st, then hearing your voice would certainly do it.
I'm not sure that I can. I've had I picked up a bug when I was at Unity Village or in Kansas City last week. So yesterday I tried to sing and it wasn't back. I'll see if it's back today. I'll sing something simple.
Don't strain yourself.
I won't, but let me think about something that wants to be sung right now. Help me to believe I am whole. Help me to believe all is well. Help me to believe I am more than I can see. That's about all I can do today.
Amen.
hey.
And so it is.
Thank you.
Beautiful, Michael, from on the spot with with the throat as it is, and beautiful that you.
It'll be better in October. I promise. I'll be back to full strength.
And for those listening, it's like Michael, it will be doing some parts of the music every single session, either leading that or actually his vocals, music, performance, piano, keyboard, or orchestrating other talented folks to come together. So it's not just a one-time shot with Michael Gott there. It's going to be
I'm so happy
as music
to be
minister.
And that's what I really wanted. I don't get to do as much of that anymore as being a music minister for a retreat or a conference, and I'm looking forward to doing that both at Big Sky and for your conference too. I can just sit at the piano and lead us in our sing-alongs, and it's a great love of mine, and I don't get to do it very much at my home church anymore.
We'll be thrilled to welcome you in doing that music. Martha is the conference chair for our Anton conference, if anybody didn't know that, and so she would know. She's got you in there all just sharing that music.
And Marcy Baruch is also going to be doing music with me at the conference, and Marcy is wonderful. Yeah.
There was a comment from Marcy, I think, saying that she had another appointment to go to, but thank you, Michael and beloved Anton friends. So she just wanted us to know she was connected as well. And my sense of the music is that and I've been finding this in my own life more and more, where some chanting and sounding kind of stuff, I would not say, they turn the microphone off when we sing because I like to sing out, but they wouldn't really want to hear it. But there's sounds coming through that I found bring me so much to this now moment. Mm-hmm. And that's what, when you sang, you're not only bringing in God, help me to, but bringing us right present. We'll just mute Jan again, and she can.
Poor Jan.
And it brings us to this present.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, it's we make the sounds, the music, the tones with our body, and it's like the breath in meditation. It takes us out of the mind into the body. We become present. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, we have time for a question or maybe two if the answers are short, or
Yeah, I am a minister.
Let me just add, we used Reverend Dr. Michael's music in my center for years and years and years. So to have the opportunity to meet you in person in October, I'm just so excited. So really, really look forward to that. And it's a pretty amazing lineup. If you've not registered for the conference already, Michael, obviously, John Harold Moore, Dennis Merritt Jones, and Mitch Horowitz.
Okay.
So just, and Martha Creek.
Yeah, I think
So
they're going to let Martha talk too.
Yeah, just amazing people who we've read, we've heard of and from and about, perhaps for years or decades. We're going to get to be with in person at beautiful Unity Village. So if you've not had the opportunity to register, again, today is a great day.
Beautiful. So as we near the end of the hour, Michael, let me ask you, are there, kind of the takeaways? What are the 2 or 3 things that you want people to remember here from this thing about connection?
Yeah, I know we talked a lot about the specific program of spirit groups, but I think I would just really ask our leaders to be with the question of how can I facilitate more belonging and connection, a greater sense of community. And there are a lot of ways to do that. And I think the other takeaway that it's really from Brene Brown, that the thing that keeps us from being courageous leaders is not our fear, but it's our armor. Is that sometimes we feel like we have to present ourselves as having it all together. And that's actually going to stand in the way of us being authentic and effective leaders, I believe. If we can just be, I'm not just suggesting that we process with our congregation, but then we can share our process with the congregation. It really means a lot.
I think that
it's funny to hear this. As I work with church groups, I offer 4 foundational pieces, which you've spoken to in the spirit groups. And it's kind of summarizing what you have to do and better do as a ministry to keep sticky church, people sticking to church, sticky church. And there's even a book called Sticky Church about that. And the foundations are to pray together, praying to and for one another, which the groups actually commit to, as I understand it. And then to play together, so to find times to be social, to get in the backyard, to throw bean bags, to go bowling, to go hiking, to go on a kayak or something, to play together, to celebrate, find reasons to celebrate, and to be the ones that people celebrate with. And then the 4th one is eat together.
And those are, yeah. Mindy must have read that book, because all of those things are in her program. Yeah.
Well, that's a nice takeaway and summary too, Martha. Then thank you that we can pray together and play together and celebrate together and eat together.
And eat.
The Unity seems to have that one down pat, eating together.
Oh yeah, we like it. We do food.
Yeah, where 2 or more gather, there will be chips.
That's right. That's sort of like the old joke about the Episcopalians, where 4 Episcopalians are gathered, there's sure to be a 5th.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Not coming from that background, I didn't know. So, but we have eating down here as well.
That's right.
Oh, beautiful, Michael. I love that. My sense is, I looked up, I guess we don't have time. I was going to ask for another thing about letting go of the armor, because it feels like as we're evolving, there's no way, at some point that dissolves. It isn't as important anymore what somebody thinks. It doesn't matter. You just want to share that light.
That authentic expression.
That feels like what you're doing. And you had something in your mission statement. Oh, it's from Rumi. I don't know where I ran across this. Nothing is more inspiring to me than to see someone step out of a limited idea and into possibility. This is the discovery and delivery of the authentic self.
The authentic self. Mm-hmm.
And So as we share our authentic selves, both here today with the Reverend Dr. Michael Gott, thank you very much. And as we will be sharing at our retreat, and perhaps since it's June now, maybe we shouldn't wait till October to share our authentic selves again, but try it this afternoon and and continuing. It's been beautiful to be with you and to feel that authentic self and that the light come through, and knowing as I do that you're in the middle of this move, which you can't help but be stressful. Why I'm thrilled that we could offer this opportunity for you to be present here, and that you could offer the same to us.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much.
Deeply grateful for your time and for your light, and for the fact that I get to meet you in person and this time. Thank you. Well, Jerry, I think, is going to announce we have our July speaker series, which is July 25th, the last Thursday of every month is when we have the speaker series. And do you have that, Jerry, or I can tell you?
I do. It's Paula Langeth Ryan talking about transforming stress and conflict with humor and your navel.
No,
or at least that's what I read in the email. So I love and adore her, and I'm just wildly curious about what she's going to talk about. So y'all will want to be with us, as Reverend Dr. Carol mentioned. It's the last Thursday of the month, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. You'll definitely want to be with us for that. And if you aren't able to or would like to hear it again, give me just a few days, and then the recordings are posted on the Anson website. So newthought.org, and there's a link on the homepage to click, and you'll see our conversation today, as well as previous month's conversations recordings posted there, and you can go on and listen again.
I have to sign off, everyone. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we just take this moment and come together as this light, as this love, giving thanks for this time together, giving thanks for the ministry and the light of Michael Gott, giving thanks for each one on this call and all of the communities that come together as we absolutely allow this light that is the truth of each of us to shine. So I give thanks for this perfect day and for all that is. So it is. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bless you.
I look forward to meeting everyone in October.
Yes, you as well.
Bye.
See you there.
Nice seeing you, Nina.
Hi, Deb. Thank you, everybody.